One person who's automatically in the cabinet is the vice president. Right now, that's Joe Biden. Joe Biden, as long as he is vice president, which isn't for too much longer, has 2 jobs.
Wait, we're in cabinet positions, right?
Yes, we are in cabinet positions.
Alright, well, I'm going to bring it up.
Click that little link at the top and it will open.
There is no.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, never mind.
Just kidding.
Okay. 2 jobs. Number 1, as president of the Senate. That's what I do in 5th period every day. If there is a tie vote in the Senate, who gets to break it? Because there are 100 senators, so you can't have a tie. Who breaks a tie in the Senate?
The speaker.
No, there's no speaker in the Senate. Vice President of the United States, who is also president over the Senate. Joe Biden, in 8 years as vice president, has never had a tie vote to break. So that leads you to the next question. Well, you said he only has 2 jobs, and one of them he's never had to do. Anyone know what his other job as vice president is?
I'll take over if the president dies.
Exactly. I think about it like a depth chart. If you're in a sport like wrestling, football, basketball, soccer, he's the backup president. President Obama has never transferred his power to his vice president.
You might want to uncross your arms.
Why?
Yeah, it's pointed there.
Thank you. So, he's never broken a tie in the Senate, and he's never inherited the power of the presidency. Therefore, officially, he's done nothing. But here's what you have to remember. It's like being the backup quarterback. Right? You're 1 play away. You're a heartbeat away from being the man, the guy. Hopefully he doesn't need to do that. Obviously, we've had presidents die in office. Right? The last one being John F. Kennedy, got assassinated, and his president, LBJ, took over. That, we hope, never happens again in American history. But recognize this. 10% of U.S. presidents have died in office. That is the deadliest job on earth. It's deadlier than working in a coal mine. It's deadlier than being a pilot or a Navy SEAL or a scuba diver. There is no job on earth that has a 10% mortality rate. So do you see why we need a vice president? The other thing is, what if all those powers like diplomacy, recognition, executive order, commander-in-chief, what if the president's still alive, but he cannot effectively wield them? Like he can't use them. Exactly. What if he's too sick and he's unconscious but alive? The 25th Amendment said he can designate his vice president as temporary president. So here's a really good example. Obama's never done that. For 8 years continuously, Obama has had that power. President George W. Bush, you're going to laugh if you know what this word means, had a colonoscopy. I now know who knows what that word means because you all laugh. This is a real thing. During his colonoscopy, which is a medical procedure that you can Google, if you know where your colon is, it means they take like the little snake with the camera and explore, I guess. I don't know what to say. But he was under general anesthesia during his colonoscopy, meaning like during surgery they knock you out. Oh, here's a problem. Commander-in-Chief unconscious on the operation table. Who's really the president then? So what he did is he wrote a note to Congress and said, this one day I go have this minor surgery. I want Vice President Dick Cheney to be the president. So think of it like Superman's outfit. It's not about the person who wears it, right? It's about the outfit itself. Just like Donald Trump gets that outfit on January 20th, which is 48 days away. So he basically said, hey, Dick Cheney, you get to wear the cape while I go under. And then as soon as I wake back up, I'll take my power back. So Dick Cheney was actually president for a day. So when people say no one from Wyoming's ever been president, on a technicality, he never got elected president, but he was president for one day while George Bush had a colonoscopy.
I wonder what he did that day.
But do you know Dick Cheney? He is the real-life Darth Vader. He's died like 4 times. He's had a heart transplant. He has a pacemaker built into some other dude's heart, which transplanted into his chest. He shot another guy in the face with a shotgun while he was vice president. Like, he is the real-life Darth Vader. I'm not even joking.
Wait,
If you look on my Twitter account, Mr. McKelkey, he was quail hunting, and he shot a guy in the face with a 28-gauge shotgun.
Oh.
Dead serious. Google
Did
it.
he kill him?
Believe me. No. But he peppered his face with pellets from point-blank range. I would never go hunting with Dick Cheney. Although I did get to meet him about a month ago. In my picture, people ask me, like, who's that little short old guy you're standing with on your Twitter account? That's Dick Cheney. So he was president for a day. Now the question is, that's easy. President's dead or incapacitated, who's next? Vice president is next in the line of succession. So what you're going to do, if you take your powers of the president, Google Doc, which should be all full, underneath judicial powers, we need to make a list for the order of presidential succession, meaning who takes over after the president. So this is really simple. The first one, I'm going to try this with my voice so I don't have to type. President of the United States. Oh. President of the United States, Barack Hussein Obama. Winkleman hacked me. No, stop listening. It's going bad. It's going rogue on me. Try that again.
I can't get into my Google Drive.
It'll work. Just be patient. If it doesn't, we'll copy. Let's try that again.
No, I can't.
President of the United States, Barack Obama. And I'm just going to number it. So he's first, obviously, because he is the president. Who's next? Office and then name. Vice President Joe Biden.
Speaker of the House.
Yes. Now here's where it gets fun. Before the cabinet comes in, there are 2 more people. Consider them 3rd string and 4th string president. Like if this was a depth chart, your starting quarterback, 1st string, that's the president. The backup's the vice president. Now it gets fun. Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. Speaker of the House is 3rd string. So if the president and vice president both died or were incapacitated, Paul Ryan, Republican from Wisconsin, would be the next president. He got reelected as Speaker, so during Trump's next 2 years at least, Ryan will be the Speaker of the House. Now, who follows after him?
President Pro Tem.
Yes, who's the President Pro Tem of the Senate? Republicans have control of the Senate. Use your Google foo. Who's the current President Pro Tem of the Senate? If you're sitting there with a blank look on your face, you're silly. You should be Googling. Okay, if I get it before you, you're all fired. President Pro Tem of the U.S. Senate.
You haven't been hired yet.
Here is information from Wikipedia.
That's not fair.
Wikipedia's not real. The Wikipedia, it could have been like Wyatt in there making it. It's not a valid site.
That was me.
That's why I'm not going to click on Wikipedia.
It was Hayden. Orrin Hatch.
From what state? Cranendonk. Yes. If you're smart, you know I asked them that just because. President Pro Tem of the Senate, Orrin Hatch. Wow, he even spelled his name right. Google is crazy. Now, those are your top 4 string presidents. Then, because of the Cold War and the advent of nuclear weapons, Congress in 1948 said, wait a minute, is it possible that the Soviets could blow up Washington, D.C., and we might actually need more than just 4 people in line to be president? So now, because of a 1948 law and the 25th Amendment to the Constitution, we were afraid that with nuclear strikes, the Soviets could take out way more than just the top 4 people in our government. So we added this disclaimer. After him, it goes cabinet positions from oldest ever created to newest. So that's where this list comes in. So what you can do, John Kerry right now is Secretary of State. You can highlight this whole list right here, all the way down to Homeland Security. Jay Johnson is the Secretary of Homeland Security. That's the newest cabinet position. George W. Bush created that after 9/11. So he's like way down the list. Like 18 or 19 people would have to die.
Who is it?
Johnson.
John.
Secretary of Homeland Security. So what we're going to do is take those, copy them, and paste them below President Pro Tem.
Who's the third?
Third is Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. Now my numbers are off, but
Okay, so how do you?
that's the Lincoln canvas I gave you, son. Cabinet positions. So, for example, fifth string is Department of State. Secretary is John Kerry. For now. But what president taking over on January 20th can change that? Trump just has to nominate somebody new. Right? So, the next time kids take this government quiz in a year, all of these could be totally different. Most of them will be. So, you just need to put the cabinet positions in order of succession. So, the first one should be Secretary of State John Kerry. The last one should be Homeland Security. Like Ash Carter right now is Secretary of Defense. But last night, did anyone watch Donald Trump's speech?
Oh, no, speaking.
Yeah.
Really good.
He named who he's going to nominate for his Secretary of Defense. Wilcox will approve. I don't know if the Senate will, though. So do you see how you can paste those in and just turn it into a numbered list? Now, the Constitution says you have to be 35 years old to be president. The other thing, fun fact, because I'm kind of big on technicalities, I'm a government teacher. Department of the Interior is Secretary Sally Jewell. She was actually born in the United Kingdom. Can she be president? No. Now, you Europeans think we're silly, but our Constitution clearly says natural-born U.S. citizen, 35 years old or older. So Sally Jewell, even though she's Secretary of the Interior, I'm going to highlight her in red. She cannot inherit the presidency. Now, for her to do so, the top 8 or 9 people would all have to die. So, pretty sure we won't need her anyways. But she cannot be president. Question?
So, my first question is, does that mean that the vice president should be also like a natural born U.S. citizen?
If he ever wants the power of presidency, yeah.
And my second question is like, is it a possibility if, since the president is like the
Is Hillary
chief
ever
of the
on that
army
list?
or whatever, can we like become a dictator by that, by taking over the?
But here's the thing. Whoever takes the power of the presidency still has to follow the Constitution.
If you want to be a dictator, you don't really want to follow that.
That's why we have 2 other branches of government.
Yeah, but if they don't have power over the military, and only the president has, isn't that?
Okay, well, here's a really good question. Somebody asked me this the other day. If a president wanted to use nuclear weapons, he is the commander-in-chief, as we learned. Congress can't really stop him.
Yeah.
We can't really stop him. People say, what's the check to that power? Like, the Founding Fathers didn't know about nukes when they said, hey, be commander-in-chief. I think they might change their mind now, right? But here's the one check that's left. The guy who has to actually push the button might say, I'm not doing that. A good example was during the presidential debates. President-elect Trump said, I'll bring back waterboarding and then some. Even though the U.S. military says we're not going to do that anymore.
Waterboarding?
It's torture.
Would-
You
No,
simulate.
you put them in the.
Yep, you simulate drowning and trick your brain into think you're drowning.
Can you outsmart that if you know enough information about it?
Have you ever seen someone get waterboarded?
Yes.
So have I.
TV shows and stuff.
No, I was, well, bullshit.
I don't know that you should be waterboarding your friends.
That's the mark of true.
I watched a video of a guy who said it's not torture, it's no big deal, and then this Marine said, cool, so can I waterboard you and then tell me what you think? And he said, yeah. And he lasted about 10 seconds. So, my point is this. Trump could say, I want you guys to waterboard, unless he pulls out the bucket and the rag and does it himself. That military personnel might say, I'm not doing that.
So he doesn't have like a full control.
Because I would hope if he said or tried to do something like that, any president, that the people actually pushing the buttons or inflicting the torture or whatever would refuse to comply. Yeah, at the end of the day, the Constitution's a piece of paper. Right? A speed limit's just a number on a sign. You got to have somebody enforce it. Okay? So do you guys see how that works? Now, all we do on the quiz is say, if these people died in an alien invasion, who would be the president? You always start with the president. Say, if he's alive, then none of the other ones really matter. Right? You've taken the quiz. You know why I'm saying that? And you take the highest one off the list besides Sally Jewell. She can't be president. You say, this person would inherit all those powers we learned about this week. Okay? So you need this Google Doc. And if you're in the Constitution module, now you should see the quiz on your coming up or to-do list. If you took it, I graded yours already. You can retake it up to 200 times. If you get it 200 and still haven't gotten 100%, tell me and I'll let you do it again. Okay? So, I have some Friday thinking music. You have your powers of the president. When you are done, there is a new assignment because we are so lucky to learn about this right when Donald Trump, I think, is learning about this for the first time. Not being facetious, but like, he is appointing cabinet members as we speak, right? Who ultimately must confirm his nominees for the cabinet? The U.S. Senate. Who is the boss of U.S. senators from Wyoming? We are. So you should see a new assignment below the quiz for those of you that are happy with your score. I have a link to all of Trump's cabinet nominations. You are going to email Marasso and Enzi, your senators, whether you're 18 or not, you're their boss, and tell them at least one cabinet position that you want them to confirm and vote yes on for Trump or no. So you're going to have to Google and read about like Mad Dog Mattis or one of the other people in his cabinet because the Senate ultimately gets to say yes or no. So you're going to email